Hey guys, in this video we're going to talk about my favorite tips on cultivating friendships as an adult. So if you're a guy in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, or even older, these tips are going to be really helpful in terms of developing friendships from scratch. And I know this incredibly well because I'm actually in the process of doing it as we speak for maybe the third or fourth time at this point. If you don't know me already, my name is Vivek George. I'm a mental and brain health coach. I love exploring topics like personal development, meditation, physical wellness, community development, activism, and related topics to intentional conscious living. And as I mentioned, I know this topic incredibly well because I'm in the process of doing it, but I've done this so much throughout my life. As a young child, I dealt with some childhood trauma related to relationships as one of the few brown kids in a very small all-white town. And it caused me to reach out to people and try to connect and develop friendships from an early age. So I was learning how to cultivate friendships very early on, and I've continued to do that throughout my life. You know, in my early 30s and mid 30s, I actually kind of lost most of my friends because as many guys around that age, many of my guy friends got married and were having kids. And so they didn't really have much time for me. And so I had to develop a whole set of new friends all over again. And then more recently, in the last year or so, I took a long trip around Europe and Asia and had to make friends then. And then more recently, even today, I moved to a totally new country. I live in Portugal now, and I'm in the process of making friends all over again. So I've done this a few times, and I've definitely learned a few tricks along the way. And before we dive into actually how do we do this, I think it's important to just reflect. If you're somebody who's had trouble developing friends in the past, or even if you're sort of doing this all over again, this is totally normal. As I was preparing for this video, I did a bunch of research, and I found out that actually somewhere between 8 to 12% of Americans say they have no friends at all. And even 50% of Americans say they only have 1 to 4 friends. So if you're somebody in this situation, don't feel bad, don't feel this is weird, not at all. The fact is a lot of people are struggling to develop friendships, and there's a lot of reasons for it. We all of us have our own personal issues. Technology doesn't make it very easy. It keeps us very divided while we're watching social media or Netflix on our phones or computers. We're isolated from the rest of the world. Big world events like COVID also further isolated us. So there's a lot of things at play that cause people to be isolated, not feeling connected with one another. I think the most important thing is if you're watching this video, you're taking a major step to try to change this, to try to change your relationships with others. And that's the most important thing to remember. So let's get into it. So when I think about developing friendships, I divide the actions needed to be taken into two things, into the fundamentals. These are the things that we need to work on personally, internally, don't really require us to do too much external efforts, but will actually have a positive impact in terms of developing friendships because people will sort of be drawn to us. Those are the fundamentals. And then there's more practical or tactical things that we do that are kind of the things you may be thinking about in terms of how to connect with others and meet others. Okay, so let's dive into it. So on the fundamentals, there are like 4 really simple things that can really change how people resonate with you. And the very first one is knowing your worth, practicing self-love and self-belief. This is something we're not really taught about at home or in school. So if this is something you've never really done, don't worry, you're not alone. Even I didn't know much about this until about a year ago or so when I was in a relationship and I realized I didn't really have a lot of self-love for myself. And over the last year or so, I've been practicing a lot of different techniques to develop that and to change my self-belief and confidence for myself. And this isn't about being cocky. It's just about knowing your worth and knowing your importance. And that once you sort of can cultivate that and understand your importance in this world, people will naturally see that and naturally feel that you are an awesome person, and they'll be drawn to you. They want to spend time with you because they feel that you're important and you're valuable, and you believe in yourself. And people like to be around those type of folks. If you don't believe in yourself, you don't love yourself, no one else will. So self-belief, self-love is first off. And if you don't know how to practice that, leave a comment below. I'd love to know, and maybe I can create a video related to that. Number 2, don't be shy on working on yourself. Now, there's a lot of different ways you can work on yourself to be a better man. But there are a bunch of smaller categories or subcategories, I would say, that will help you develop relationships with other people. Stuff like just being more kind, working on being more calm, being open and adventurous. Lots of people have different interests and activities. And so being open to these ideas and activities and suggestions will make it easier for you to connect with others. And working on being more positive. Everyone knows that guy or gal that's just when they enter the room, they kind of bring the energy down. So working on being more positive and these other attributes will help you connect with others and generally just make you feel good. The third fundamental area that you can work on is being curious about others. We all are so focused on ourselves. Sometimes it's even rare to find people that are actually generally curious about us and want to ask us questions about our lives and want to be helpful to our lives. So just being curious about others can be like a bit of a superpower. And the fourth fundamental, it may seem obvious and simple, but you'd be surprised how powerful it can be, learning to smile more. If you're frowning, if you're looking sad or angry, people can be intimidated. They won't want to come up to you and talk to you. So learning to smile more regularly makes it very easy and inviting for others to connect with you randomly. And instead of you having to go out to talk to people, people will start coming to you. Okay, so those are all the fundamentals. Now, what are the practical, tactical things that you can do to connect with friends or connect with potentially new friends? So first off, exploring your interests. Ideally exploring your interests in group settings. So maybe you're interested in dance, maybe you're interested in a sport or outdoor activity. Maybe you're interested in writing or yoga or some other activity. Exploring that in group settings is a great way to connect with people with a similar interest. And then slowly over time, those people that you see at these classes or workshops perhaps can turn into friends. I did this myself. Like I mentioned, in my early 30s, I was interested in electronic music and I didn't really know where to go to listen to it. And I met somebody at a workshop and she was like, hey, I'll take you out. And, fast forward till today, some of these folks that she introduced me to and other people that I met over the course of the last 10, 15 years or so, I've become some of my closest friends because I explored this interest. Number 2, go to the same places on a regular basis. Whether it's a co-working space, a coffee shop, maybe a bar, some of these classes that I mentioned, a park or a hiking trail. These are great places. If you keep going to these places over and over again, you're just going to see some of those familiar faces. And that creates that initial trust in somebody. They see you don't act crazy or rude or mean. They're going to start trusting you. And that trust is a key component to developing a friendship. And you can sort of see someone on a regular basis. Hey, I've seen you a couple times. What's your name? Just start chatting from there. And that can help build a relationship. Once again, this is something I'm in the process of doing as well. I started taking a yoga class, outdoor yoga class, and I started seeing people on a couple week basis now. And I'm sure in a couple weeks, this will start or give me the opportunity to start conversations and potentially friendships in the longer term. Number 3, be open to talking to anyone. Maybe it's a gardener, maybe it's a crossing guard on a street, maybe it's the person that works at your coffee shop or your grocery store, maybe it's a doorman at a building. Wherever you are, talk to anybody. It helps you develop this muscle of being social, being conversational, being interested in others and sharing your story as well. And that same muscle of being social will apply and be helpful when you're actually trying to develop real relationships and friendships with perhaps others at these different places that I'm mentioning and sharing. Number 4, deepen already existing relationships, whether it's with family, colleagues, or a classmate. Maybe you have a cousin that you really don't spend a lot of time with. Perhaps you can invite them out to a movie or a drink or to a show. Same with colleagues or classmates. These are already existing relationships. Just have some basis, but you can deepen it and perhaps turn them into full-on proper friendships. Number 5, group trips. Maybe a yoga retreat or a meditation retreat, perhaps a writing workshop or an arts workshop or a music festival. I actually went to a music festival recently, and that's how I started a new friendship. I was dancing at one of the stages, and I was just open, had this positive energy, enjoying myself. And the guy next to me just started chatting with me. We realized we got along, we listened to similar music, and we ended up spending a lot of the festival together, and we're still in touch after the festival. And once again, these yoga retreats or meditation retreats are often pretty small groups and can be an easy way to, over a course of a few days or a week, to see the same people, to have small talk during the retreat, and then afterwards having a full-on friendship. And lastly, and this one I don't have as much experience with, but I know a lot of people use these, are apps. There are different apps these days to help people connect with locals in their area to cultivate a friendship. And even some of these dating apps are being used as well for friendship. They have like a friendship component. I know Bumble is being used by a bunch of people. A good friend of mine uses that for developing friendships in Berlin. Hopefully these tips have been helpful in terms of giving some direction on cultivating friendships. I know I shared a bunch of them, so don't feel overwhelmed. Don't feel like you have to do all of them this week or today. Try to focus on doing 1 or 2 this week, and then next week come back to this video or come back to your notes and try to add another one and another one. And slowly but surely, I'm sure you'll start developing some initial relationships, and then over the course of the next couple months, some solid friendships. If this video has been helpful, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. It really helps me and the algorithm. And if you had any more suggestions or tips or even comments, please leave a comment below. Love to hear from you and hear what you're thinking as well. Thanks. Have a great day.